Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dr. Sean J. Harris here, Generational Wealth Academy. It is Tuesday evening, Saturday number 3. It is like 10:30 in the evening, and I know a lot of you guys probably know I typically do not go live at this hour, but I got to come live tonight. I want to talk about some things. I want to help set some people free. One thing Tara always talks to me about is to be in a position where if you identify a problem, figure out a solution or give the solution also. So a lot of times I may present issues or concerns, but sometimes I may not give the solution. So here is something that I really, if you can understand this, it's going to really set you free. And this can be the beginning process of you becoming financially free and independent. Okay. How did I become financially free and independent many years ago? Is I got around people who were financially free and independent. I started understanding their thought processes. I started understanding how they did things, the way they think about money. See, a lot of times we may grow up and we have different connotations of what we think wealthy people are like, what rich people are like. And it's usually a negative connotation. But it's not until you get in a position where you start getting around wealthy people, and by default, if you just follow the same recipe, you too indeed will become wealthy. You too indeed will have financial independence and stability. So here's what I'm talking about. Here, I just saw a post from a person earlier, and it says something along the line. Well, let me give you the backstory. Here in Georgia, the governor is waiving the state gas tax in Georgia. Okay, in Georgia, that state tax is 29.1 cents. So let's just round it up and say 30 cents. So the person made a post and said, hey, listen, everybody, the gas tax is gonna take effect tomorrow. So if you can hold off on filling up your gas tank, wait until tomorrow because it'll be cheaper. Okay, here's the deal. To become financially free and independent, you got to first of all get cheap out of your vocabulary. If anything, use less expensive. But take the word cheap out. That's just the beginning, okay? So here's the deal. 30 cents per gallon sales tax. Here's the deal. At the most expensive that would be is $7. But if you want to be specific, because I got a lot of melancholy or analytical people that want to be very precise, at 30 cents on a 20-gallon tank, which that's the average size tank on a large SUV, that's only $6. But I'm saying $7, just being very conservative. But in actuality, it's $6 at most that you're gonna save on filling up on a tank of gas. So here's my thought process behind that. Instead of living a life of focusing on cheapness, let's figure out a way to create more money. Then that way we don't have to be stuck on the cheap side. Because here's the deal. It's easier to make money than to focus on what's cheap in the world. Than to go shopping here because you save a penny or two. To drive all the way across town to get gas for 7 cents cheaper, but you just burnt all that up going to get the gas. See, here's the deal. Remember I talked about thought processes. If you want to become financially free and independent, you have got to think differently. You can't think the way that the school system taught you. You can't think in terms of what's going to be cheapest. No, figure out how can I make more money? Because here's the deal. If we can't figure out these two things first, stop focusing on what's cheap, and also to understand the aspect of making more money, if you can't understand that, you can never become wealthy. You can't even become financially free and independent. And to be quite honest, a person who don't understand those two can never get out of just being out of debt. So here's the deal. Think about it. So many people are struggling financially and they don't know why. I'm going to tell you why. It's because they don't understand the principles of numbers and money. You got to understand and know your numbers. So let me give you the solution. The solution is take anything that you're good at. If you've been working a profession for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you got to be good at it. Everybody have a book inside. My dad used to always tell me that. He said, you got a book inside. I've released 43 different books over my years. So think about whatever it is you do. you can make a book on that. Well, Sean, I don't know how to write a book. I don't know the first thing about it. Listen, just get some thoughts, get some outlines, just like in English class. Make a basic outline of a few things. So let's say that you play the trumpet as an example. You can write an ebook on the fundamentals of how to learn how to play the trumpet. So you write an outline. First of all, here's the instrument. Here's the keys. Here's the note charts to understand C, A, B, flat, and all that kind of stuff. And then put that information in an AI system, and it will create a book for you in less than 15 minutes. So now you have an ebook. Let's suppose you sold that ebook for $10 per copy. You sold 5 copies a day. That's $50 times 5 days a week. That's $250. So that's way more than what you need to make up that difference in the gas tax, which was only $6. And you still have money to get groceries. Come on, man. Again, it's simple, it's easy, but you have to understand it first. You can't just say, well, how am I going to make this money? It's very simple, but you got to methodically think it through. So now that you have this ebook, for an example, that becomes what's called IP, which is intellectual property. You've done the work one time. You've written that book one time. Think about a book you've read when you were a kid. That book was only written one time, but it continues to sell over and over and over and over. A book many of us probably read in school, which is a controversial book, was Tom Sawyer. That book was written one time in, I think, the 1800s, if I'm correct. But that book continued being in school systems for years, decade after decade after decade. And people continue, the Tom Sawyer Foundation or his estate continued making money off the book that was written only one time. So now that you have this book, you have intellectual property. Intellectual property can be leveraged as an asset. So the 43 books that I've already written, my grandkids can sell those books and continue making residuals and money from that. So now I showed you how to solve that problem of how to be able to create the extra income. Now you don't have to focus on cheap anymore. Now it's focused on how do we make more money. So again, when I talked about a lot of times when people are in that financial struggle and they don't know how to get out of it, it's because they don't know numbers and they don't understand how they work. So think about this. Just to get from underneath water, being in a deficit in debt, just to get subline to zero, you know, the water's right here at our nose level. But if you've ever been in the water at chin level, anytime a wave comes, the water's going to kind of go over your nose. So you're going to be back and forth, back and forth. This is what is known as paycheck to paycheck, basically. So if we want to get at that position, we got to get that water level from subline zero to at least chin level. And then we need to really get it to chest level. So now that we're chest level in the water, we can look around and we can start seeing our horizon. We can start thinking and calculating what our next step is. See, when the water is here, I can look over there and see that there's an island. I can look over there and see there's the boat. I can look over here and see there's a reef, there's an island. So now you start having direction as far as what you need to do financially. But when that water line is here at our nose and eye level and subline, or forbid we're completely underwater, we can never get out of that financial situation. So like I said, we got to first figure out a fix. But don't just figure out a fix, because we don't want just to put a band-aid on a cancer. We want to really figure out what is the source of that cancer. And then we attack that cancer. And then once we've resolved that situation and you have a tool in place that created the income, that'll be an ongoing source of income forever. And you don't have to worry about fixing that problem again because it's already fixed. So that's one of the things I just want people to think about. It's like, don't just focus on cheap. Don't focus on what's the cheapest. Focus on how to make more money. Because listen, you guys have seen people lined up in gas station parking lots to get gas that is like 10 cents cheaper. But you came from 15 miles across town to sit in a line where you're idling, burning more gas than if you had just filled up at the gas station near your home. So again, it also comes a point in time where your time is more valuable. I gave an analogy on a video last week. I can go out into my front yard with a pair of scissors and I can cut my grass. It'll probably take me 3 months using some scissors. But if I use a push lawnmower, it'll probably take a couple hours. But if I use a riding mower, it'll probably only take 30 minutes. Or I can just get rid of all of that and pay somebody to do it while I take that same amount of time to do other productive things that are income producing. You want to put yourself in a position where activities that you do are creating income and not taking money out. So again, if you're driving across town to try to save gas, you're burning gas to get there, you're idling gas waiting in this line with 50 cars just to get some gas to only save 7 cents per gallon. And if you got a 20-gallon tank at 7 cents, come on. You did all that for $3, $4, $5. That doesn't pass the common sense test. So you got to think about it. When people say, I just can't get out of that financial bind, this is why. It's just a simple tweak of understanding your numbers, understanding how numbers work. So to recap, for some of you guys that just got on, people are in a frenzy right now saying don't buy gas today because the gas tax is going to be waived at midnight, I guess, tonight or in the morning, whenever they do this, flip the switch. So people are deliberately not going to the grocery store tonight. They're deliberately not taking their kids to different activities, whether it's karate or sporting events, to save gas because they want to fill up tomorrow. But if you got an SUV, I drive 3 big SUVs. My smallest tank is 20, and I think my biggest tank, I got a Hummer, that's like a 30-gallon tank. So on a 20-gallon tank, the average SUV, whether it's an Expedition, a Tahoe, Suburban, you're looking at only saving $6 per fill up. So if we're in that situation where you're only saving $6, if you created an ebook that you sold for $10 and you sold 5 copies a day, that's $50 you just made right there. Extrapolate that number times 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, because I only gave you weekends off. So if you sold 5 copies of your ebook that you made in 15 minutes by using AI, you're now in a position where you now have a $250 cash flow continuously every week if you keep that process up. So $250 additional dollars, peel the $6 off, fill up your tank. If you got to fill up a couple days, $12, $15, and you still have $225 to go buy groceries or something, or whatever you need to do, pay some other bills. But this is the mindset that you have to understand how to outgrow the money monster. Because so many people are stuck in what's called the 40-40-40 plan. That's where you work 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire on 40% of what you probably already having a hard time living on in the first place. Nothing changes. So you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do differently? The 3 things that I always tell everybody that change for me is, I call it the transformation of art, or the art transformation, ART. A, I changed who I associated with. As I said in the beginning, I got around people who were making 6 figures a month. When I thought 6 figures a year was a big deal, then I got around people who made 6 figures in a month. I was like, ooh, hark. Then I positioned myself to be doing the same thing. So it's easier to make 6 figures a month than it is in a year. So think about this. Whatever your annual income is, think about this. That amount is easier to make in those 30 days than it takes 365 days. It's just that we position ourselves to negotiate a deal with our employer to make that amount of money, whatever the annual is, in 365 days. But you can also negotiate to make that same amount in 30 days, in 7 days, in 1 day. Think about it. The school system has conditioned us to think that it's about time to make money. It's not about time, it's about a result. Again, if I sent Kennedy or Kate and said, hey, look, go wash the truck and I'll give you X amount of dollars, they can take 8 hours. If they knew they're getting paid by the hour, they say, hey, we're gonna take all day to do it. Or if you know you're getting paid by a result, it's like, hey, look, I get this thing washed in 10, 15 minutes. Then you start to really make money because you're getting paid on a result. But that's not where we're conditioned in the 9-to-5 community. So again, that was the A. I changed who I associated with. I started associating with people who thought differently. I remember I went to my first real estate conference. I was 27 years old, made my first six figures. And I remember this guy came to me, older white guy, and said, "Hey son, how much money you making?" Proudly, I said, "Man, I make six figures a year." And he burst out in hysterical laugh. And I'm the only person that looked like me. Everybody else were melanin free. So what I did was I said, "Hey, look, I do make six figures a year. What's the big deal? What are you laughing at?" And he stopped laughing abruptly. He said, "Listen, I'm not laughing that you make six figures. I'm laughing that it takes you a whole year to make it." And when I heard him say that, I was like, wow. I don't know if that stung in a hurtful way or did I get a real good reality check. And I later found out that I did get a reality check, and he became my one of my mentors in life. And he showed me, in fact, how to make the six figures in 30 days. And this was 25 years ago when I learned that. The R in the word art for the transformation of art is reading. I had to change what I was reading. I had to change what I was putting in my ear and my eye gates. And the T is how I use my time. See, many times people can be watching sporting events, they can watch TV, they can do all kind of weird things with their time, or they can channel that time to create what I call revenue generating activities, RGAs. You have to ask yourself, is what I'm about to do gonna create income from it? Is it gonna increase my net worth? You increase your net worth through your net work. You guys saw just with Otis Nixon the last 2 days for his golf tournament. He's a good friend of mine, World Series champion with the Atlanta Braves. We're hanging out with Brian Jordan, Marquise Grissom, Andrew Jones was supposed to be there. I don't know if he was or not. We had to leave out the event a little bit early, but it's all about association and how you use your time. A few months back, there was a Saturday morning. I spent my time meeting with Coco Gauff, which you guys know now is the 2023 US Open tennis champion. Had private time with her. Also had private time with Storm Reed that same morning. You have to position yourself to be around people that's going to be impactful and help you move the needle. You guys saw a couple weeks ago with Steve Harvey, with Diddy. Just a couple weeks before that was with the great Les Brown. You have got to position yourself to get around people who are making impact and can help you. So those are the three things that changed for me. What I read, who I associated with, and how I use my time. So the things that we teach, man, come on, we dropping gems every day, but it's up to you to pick them up. I got two 13-year-old babies who just cleared 5 figures in one weekend. 13 years old, made over $10,000 in just 3 days. Total, it was 24 hours total. It was 8 hours for 3 days. How do I do that? How do they do that? It's all about what we know. So, I made a post the other day, and I'm gonna close on this. Either know what you're doing or pay someone who does. All right? So if that means positioning yourself to get mentorship, to get coaching, to get guidance, to get consultations with people who are already in life where you want to be, do that. Humble yourself and say, listen, I need help. I need help, I need guidance. Okay? Because one thing about a leader isn't a leader just because you produce a leader. You become a leader when the leaders that you produce other leaders. And in my space, I produce financial phenoms. I produce financial leaders, economic powerhouses. Tara and I teach people how to create 6- and 7-figure incomes. How? Because we've already done it. So, I'll close on this. If you're married, it makes sense to see a marriage counselor who's married. I wouldn't go to a hairstylist with bad hair. You understand? You wouldn't go to a pediatrician when you need a optometrist. Position yourself to get the proper guidance from the proper people, and that's going to make all the difference. All right, guys, y'all go out there and get that Georgia gas with no tax in the morning if that's what rocks your boat. But get out of the cheap mentality and start figuring out, how can I stop being cheap and how can I start creating income? Because we're always taught that humble yourself and that you're not supposed to live a great life. That's hogwash. You're supposed to live a great life. You really are. So position yourself to do that. Don't hold back and say, well, I really didn't want this house because it's too big, or I really didn't want to drive this particular car. And it's not about material items, because I am not a material item guy. If I stand up right now, which I'm not going to do, I am in some orange swimming trunks, a green shirt. Well, this is a movie I was in. I wear my brand. I don't wear name brand shoes. I'm not with all that stuff. But if I want to, I can purchase stuff. I'm gonna close on this. My mentor told me this. He said, Sean, here's how you know if you can afford something. If you can buy it 2 times cash, then you can afford it. If you can't do that, you can afford that item. All right, guys, listen. Tara and I are closing out our coaching for the 2023 year. We have limited spaces of people that we're working with. We're only working with very serious people who are seriously investing in themselves. 2024 is already booking up for us for other things we're doing outside of coaching and consulting. So we're going to be even more limited to the people that we can coach in 2024. So if you are in a position where you want to better yourself, you want to better your income and really start building a legacy, you're ready to escape the 40-40-40 plan, let's connect. Visit me at growfamilylegacy.com, or I'm easy to find. Inbox me, send me a carrier pigeon, smoke signal, whatever. Get in touch if you are that person that really seriously wants to move the needle. All right, guys, I'm going upstairs because I am ready to go to bed. So make impact and make money while you're doing it.